And we're back.
Hey, okay,
All
good.
right.
Back. Oh, thank you for hitting play once again. That was a very quick we just took there. Sorry about that. We have a lot of sponsors. My board seems to be like what's that word?
Diagonal.
Diagonal. Yeah, whatever your Latin phrase is. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Talking Upstream. I am Zach, and this is my friend Dylan, and together we are Some Nobodies. This is our website here, somenobodies.com. And we do a bunch of things. We have a lot of podcasts. We have a couple weird shows. We are making a movie. But more importantly, A, we're friends, and B, we're content creators. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that people have an understanding of how we make up weird stories, mostly out of nothing, just some thin air. But before we get to anything, Dylan, how are you, sir?
Doing okay, Zach. I'm warm and I'm insulated. And we're recording this in the midst of an alleged historic snowstorm in Boulder County, Colorado. And it's building up out there for sure.
It's getting pretty wild. I live outside of Boulder, and it's about 2 feet on the ground. It is coming down pretty intensely right now, but whatever. Who cares about that?
Yeah, whatever.
Let's more importantly than people's safety and security, as well as warmth. Have we got onto a streaming service yet? Have we sold out yet?
We're in the process. We're making that movie. By the time people are watching us, we will still probably be making that movie because we're only a week ahead now.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we were about 2 months ahead for a while, and then life happened and whatever. But yeah, Dylan,
now we can be relevant. Now we can be more relevant.
That's true. Then we're talking about the Super Bowl or whatever that was. Yeah, Dylan's right though. One of our first episodes, I think it was episode 5, we created a story called "Give Me Back" about body swappers, and we are in production currently of making that film. We got a great director, we got a great cinematographer, we have a great editor, we have a great cast, and things are going very, very well. If you want to check on that, we actually have a GoFundMe going on right now. We want to make this movie very cool. We're trying to put this into festivals, so we just need a little bit of help, and definitely want to throw some thanks at our friends. Speaking of friends, last week we had a weird guest on. If you don't remember, Jack Billings and Michael Colby.
I never forget them.
Yeah, those guys are cool. But enough of that. They took up enough of our time. Let's get to our guest this week. Dylan, what do you know about our guest this week?
So I know our guest this week is a cosplayer, pretty glamorous at that, voice actor. Last news I had heard from them, they had secured a role, but I don't know how much we can really talk about that. So I'm just going to bring her on and she can pitch all of her stuff herself. This is Bee Hyland from a variety of projects. Hello, Bee.
Hi.
How are you today?
Doing? I'm great. Yeah.
Hello, Bee. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if we're allowed to talk about that. Last time we talked about you, it was a little bit of hush-hush. Is there anything cool new that you want to talk about before we get into your podcast?
I can say that the movie is it's going to be titled The Unsocial Network, so keep an eye on that. I can say that I play one of the main antagonists in that, so
nice.
All right, that's great.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I was excited you just got cast. I wasn't sure if we were allowed even to say that. But we won't talk anymore on that. We don't want you get you in trouble or anything. But your show is called Deep Lore.
Yes, it's called.
Now
Deep
we are fans of serious lore, and Dylan is a fan of rather shallow lores. But do you want to go ahead and talk about what Deep Lore is?
So with Deep Lore, we kind of go into our favorite shows and we go through with a fine comb, figure out what we like about it, what makes it work as a series. And we try to be serious, but Mm. It never works out that way. It ends up being more comedy than actual content, to be honest.
Yeah, and like Dylan said, you're a cosplayer also, so it must be pretty interesting for cosplayers to try to be serious about anything.
Oh my god, I can't be serious about anything at all. I try, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So Deep Lore, what are some of your favorite episodes that you've gone over? Because Dylan probably has a bunch of questions about lore. He's a mythological super fan. So what were some of your favorite episodes before Dylan gets into his nerd conversations?
So we've actually been going through the show Avatar: The Last Airbender right now. And one of my favorite episodes was actually one that we just put up. It ended up being very funny. Definitely check that one out. We tried to take it seriously, and we just ended up like ragging on the main character the entire time.
Yeah, I think Dylan and I once talked about doing a Last Airbender podcast, but I feel like we would just get hung up on Cabbage Guy too much, and it wouldn't really go anywhere.
We had like an entire episode dedicated to Cabbage Guy.
That guy. There's something really cool about him.
He's nice.
Now, when it comes to cosplaying, obviously that's a form of creativity, and one of the reasons that we wanted to chat with you on here is because we're trying to talk to other, creatives and understand what brings their creative process to light. So, when it comes to cosplaying, what are some of the elements that you have to go through to choose a character that you're going to be for a specific event? I guess.
Well, let's see. Lately, my way of picking is, are they attractive? Am I attracted to them? Yes. Great. Then I'm going to be them.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
So when it comes to shows like Deep Lore, and obviously with your history of cosplaying as well, do you ever get into a form of your own creation? Do you ever like write your own stories or try to create your own like worlds or anything?
So I'm going to expose myself here, but I do write fan fiction.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
I'm not sure if that's all that we want to hear about that, though.
It depends on the fan fiction. One thing we didn't go over is that this is a family show.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
That's
Oh, okay. So that's why we can't talk anymore. Okay, great. Do you have any family-friendly fan fiction I guess experience?
No.
It's important to know. Hey, no, it's an important thing as a creative to know what you do and who it's for. I've been told multiple times it's very important to know your audience.
Yep.
So yeah.
Just because we can't talk about it does not mean that it's not cool. So
yes.
I also DM pretty frequently too. So with DMing, I like to make my own story for that.
Mm-hmm.
So
when
more family friendly.
Now, when you're coming up with any sort of story whatsoever, is there anything that particularly like jogs the creative muscle, or do you kind of just find a lot of people live by the adage of steal liberally when you're being creative? Have you found yourself guilty of that particular manner of creation? Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, writers steal from each other all the time, and I don't know if it's stealing, more like borrowing.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say borrow ideas. I don't think there's really an idea that is 100%, unique to one person. I think everyone is inspired by everyone else in some manner.
Yeah, it's not stealing; it's inspiration.
Inspiration. There you go.
Yeah. Now, when it comes, sorry, go ahead.
Go for it, Zach. You had a stronger opening.
Do I? I'm just forceful in my voice. That's all.
Oh.
Okay, so B. I'm just kidding. So with the idea of this show, with Talking Upstream, what we're trying to do is talk ourselves up to a streaming service. We're trying to get ourselves up to the pinnacle of what we're trying to do is have a job somewhere. With Deep Lore, what would you say is like the apex or the pinnacle of what you're trying to get to with that show, if any?
Honestly, we're just there to entertain. That's all we're there for. If you find us funny, great. If not, well, hopefully you learned something in the meantime.
Yeah. Now, with any of your fan fictions that we cannot talk about, have you thought about possibly like trying to film any of this or take it to the next level? Or are you interested in like creation of things other than just like writing?
Okay, so I had somebody with one of them in particular, which ended up being literally novel length. Somebody suggested just change the names and then publish it. I'm like,
it's worked for certain things.
It has.
Yeah.
It worked for Twilight.
Yeah, I was gonna say it worked for 50 Shades of Grey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
So when you do write, and fan fiction, despite the fact that it does exist in someone else's creation, you do put a story down.
Mm-hmm.
When you do any sort of story writing, and that includes DMing, do you find that you outline pretty heavily, or are you just kind of like, I want to do this scene, and then you just kind of connect it as you go?
So here's the thing. With D&D, you should just have like a general like idea in mind and then just adapt it. And then with like when you're writing, you should have an outline. I'm the opposite. I like to overplan for D&D, and then when I'm writing, I just kind of freeform it.
I bet that works great for D&D.
That's always a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
It never works.
When we talk to most podcasters, we find that they've had a podcast that was a failure before the one that we found them on. Have you been a part of any podcasts that no longer exists that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, actually, I was part of a D&D podcast for a while, and it was going all right until we had to take a hiatus and never came back to it. That one was called Tales of Faults. It was a lot of fun.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
those are two hobbies that are marked by hiatuses that never stop. D&D groups, it's like it's been 4 weeks. We got a momentum going. I'm not playing. Let's just not open up that group message again. And in podcasting, it's like episode 7. 7's a pretty good number. That's one a week for a week. I think we're good to stop there. And then you combine them, it just compounds.
Yeah.
Now, do you listen to a lot of podcasts? I know that you make a couple and you got your own stuff going on. Are there any influences that you have as far as other podcasters go that make your show better, or in our case, worse?
We were really heavily influenced by the McElroy brothers. I started listening to Mabembem like a long time ago, and then when they started doing the Adventure Zone, that was something I kept up with weekly. There's a lot of really good podcasts out there, definitely.
Yeah, great. Dylan, what are you listening to right now?
Right now I'm listening to Citation Needed, which is like they read a single Wikipedia article on a random topic and then present it as if they're giving like a university lecture. I'm listening to the Film Reroll, which is a tabletop role-playing game. They don't do D&D, but they use a similar game to play out movie stories, and then they diverge wildly. And then just kind of the normal high-rated top-of-the-chart stuff. Yeah. I watched A Quiet Place because I'm listening to this new podcast called The Real Boys that everybody should go look at. But that's for later.
We'll talk about that later. We're gonna take a B's time with this.
Yeah.
B, we find that most podcasters, even us, we kind of live with that benchmark. Like we want to get to this next download level or subscription number or whatever. Do you find that with Deep Lore you are like benchmark? Like, are you looking for a certain amount of downloads? Or are you looking to guest appear on a certain amount of things? Like, what would you say is the benchmarks for your show?
Well, we would like to obviously get our name out there a little bit more. I feel like downloads aren't really a very good metric to discern how many people actually listen, because I mean, I never really download podcasts myself. I just stream them. And I know that's the way it is with a lot of people. I don't like to look at the numbers. Looking at the numbers makes me nervous. But I always like to make my guest appearances. Just get my
That's
name out
here.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to look at the numbers because when you start doing that, you're like, do people just not like me anymore? I don't know what's happening. I used to be cool. I don't know what I don't know what happened. So with Deep Lore, and this is one of Dylan's questions, but I always like when he asks this, is there a topic that you maybe will not go over with your show? Now, granted, with that show, you're probably going over a little bit on a lighter side, I guess, if you're touching about like Last Airbender, but are there things that you just like do not want to talk about?
I mean, I feel like there's always things that like you don't really want to touch on, just in general. But I mean, depending on if I have a guest or not, I'll kind of adjust for their comfort.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Dylan does not like to do that. He doesn't adjust for anybody, really. It's just like
it's our show, and if they're on our show, when I go on their show, they don't have to adjust for me.
That's true. That's true. And this might not be a question that you want to answer, but it's something that Dylan and I find very funny. We tend to get ourselves on a lot of shows just so that people know we're doing, and some of them kind of they run away from us, or we don't really know what we're getting ourselves into. Have you ever been on a show where you just did not realize what you were doing until you were there?
I have a story. So I was invited onto a show on New Year's Eve, actually, and the host was not entirely clear with me about what the show was about. And 30 minutes before the show, I found out that they were basically setting me up to argue with someone else. And I was like, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm here for. This is not what you told me this was about. And I had to back out at the very last second. But yeah, no, they just wanted like an argument. And I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, it definitely we learned our lesson pretty early on. We would get on a couple of shows, and like we're creative, so it's like you don't really know how people find us, whether it's our show Silicon Angels or this or podcast or something weird, and they're like, hey, you go to a show, and they start saying a couple words, and you're like, wait a minute. What is this? What is this show? So yeah, now we do a lot of research.
A little bit more vetting before we make our guest appearances.
Yeah, now we got to start vetting who we appear with, and not the show that we're on, because some people will run the show. So when it comes to, so you're obviously into filmmaking. I mean, as an actor, you probably have a little bit of interest in that. Do you have like a favorite movie, or do you have like a favorite director that you kind of follow or anything?
Okay. Taika Waititi is an absolute mad genius. I've been following him for quite a while. But as far as favorite movie goes, I'm going to have to say the original Alien is my absolute favorite.
Oh, right on.
I just think it's
a good pick.
Yeah.
That is a good pick. That never pops out of people's mouths for favorite movies. That's cool.
I absolutely love it. It usually I have to like go by genre, like, oh no, favorite movie, what genre? But Alien, I think, is the top for me because it does the tension so well.
What's your opinion on Aliens?
It was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does tend to be one or the other with a lot of people, where they either really like one or really find both okay.
It's fine. I'm not mad at it. But Alien was top for me.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan, if you had to watch one again, which one would you watch?
I mean, I'd probably watch Alien again.
See?
Out of the two, yeah. Oh, yeah. No argument here. It's just an observation.
Yeah.
Like Terminator versus T2.
Yeah.
Why would you watch Terminator 1? That's a weird movie. T2 is such a great movie. B, okay, so one thing that Dylan and I often come across, more myself, and that's one of the reasons that Dylan's such a great partner to me, is when you have those not so great ideas. For some reason you like them and you keep trying to work them and they just don't really work very well. Do you ever come across that where you want to work something and it just doesn't work? And if so, how do you work around that situation?
That happens to me way too often, either in writing or, D&D, where I have this like insane idea and I'm like, I really want this to happen. And usually I just take that idea and put it somewhere else, just a different project. And then I find myself with way too many projects to keep track of.
Yeah. I tend to text the idea to Dylan knowing that he will not respond to me, and then it fizzles, which is...
I do respond on occasion. Oftentimes it's because I don't respond because I'm updating the document and I'm just adding it to all the other ones we got.
I'm not trying to call you out, man. I'm just kidding.
I know.
Ms. B, if you could start any podcast right now, like if you could just start another podcast based on something that you find very, very important or passionate about, what would that podcast be about?
All right, this is going to sound super nerdy, but I actually had this idea for a podcast that I've been workshopping with a friend, where we talk about our favorite ships in media, like relationships. I'm sure you're aware of the term, like I ship it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So an entire podcast about that. And and then like once a month we do like an insane ship that like nobody actually ships, but we'd like talk about it seriously.
All right, what is the most current pop culture, the most current shipping right now?
The Edmund Fitzgerald.
Wow. That is the hardest laugh Dylan has ever received, I think.
I'm flattered. You don't have to entertain me like that.
Yeah, we should just move on with the show because it's not going to get any better than that for Dylan. That's great.
Now, are you asking like my favorite ship currently, or are you asking like?
Is there a one from recent pop culture that has kind of been in your awareness?
I guess really. It's hard right now since there's not really a lot of pop culture going on. Yeah,
there is a lot of things are on hiatus right now.
What's your favorite one? Like one that you're like, this is I love this one.
Hayward and Crystal Vision from WandaVision.
So you guys know I'm a huge Jojo fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So in Jojo Part 5, the characters Bakio and Bucciarati. That is my number one right now. That's the one I'm currently obsessed with.
That's honestly, every time I think about your podcast, I think that it's a Jojo Rabbit reference. And then you're like episodes. I'm like, oh wait, no, it's anime. Come on, man.
That movie, like, it wrecked me at the end.
Dude, that movie's too good. That movie is a very, very good movie, and then a very sad movie.
Sad movie. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love it. I'll
find myself like laughing 1 minute, and then the next I'm like, oh no.
Yep. What would you say? Now you have guests on your show. I don't know if you don't really go through like interview processes. But what would you say is the best advice for interviewers? It's something that we have recently started doing a lot of, and obviously Dylan would like to be better at it.
Questions I ask is, what is your favorite color? I feel like it's a good icebreaker, and everyone wants to talk about their favorite color.
Huh.
It just puts people at ease. Like, Dylan, what's your favorite color?
What's Dylan's favorite color?
Paisley.
What did I phrase?
That's not a color.
Zebra. Wait,
not
color?
Oh.
Hi.
I don't know.
Sorry, I think I lost you guys there.
Oh no, you didn't miss anything. Let me tell you.
No.
We're talking about favorite colors because it's something fun to talk about. Probably like a nice blue or a green.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah,
Good choice.
a nice blue.
just a nice blue, not navy, but you know,
Are we talking
Yeah.
eggshell blue or like sky blue?
a little
Teal.
darker in tone.
Okay, so maybe like slate blue.
Ooh.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe a cobalt.
Ooh, cobalt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
Strong
I'm more of an orange guy. Wait, cobalt's not a color?
Yeah.
No, cobalt's a color.
Yeah.
No?
Cobalt's a
Oh,
color.
I thought somebody said it wasn't a color, and honestly, I wouldn't put that past me.
There's no one here except us, Zach. Nobody's saying anything.
Well, I mean, producer Win over there he's shaking his head about something. No big deal. I don't know what that is. I'll get to him
First
later.
time he's had to deal with us in like a month.
Yeah. Now he said, "Well, Texas is free, so I'm coming over your house." And I'm like, "I'm not in Texas. I don't care." B, do you happen to have any celebrity encounters? We find that a lot of people, for whatever reason, have come across a celebrity or have seen a celebrity or had a weird drunken experience on a cruise ship going from the Bahamas back to Miami. If you happen to come across any celebrities?
Yes, and I can't actually talk about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Sorry.
Go
That's
bother
right,
her on
just-
Twitter.
It's fine.
I met Donna's father. I don't know if that counts.
Paul Donna.
There's Pa Donna and there's Ma Donna.
Yeah,
And their kid's just Donna.
Donna. Donna. Wow, that was one of the worst jokes I've ever made in my life. Okay, so yeah, that's
I
crazy.
need to make a little like technical difficulty sign to throw up here now.
Oh, geez, that was not good, Paul Donna. Dylan, how dare you?
You tried.
One of Dylan's things that he tells me a lot at nighttime is that you should always write drunk and then edit sober. As a writer, how do you feel about that advice?
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
You just laid out my entire process, like right there.
No, I always wonder in the morning, I'm like, how does Dylan do this all, at nighttime? But it just turns out that he just gets trashed and forgets about it, which
half
is
of
great.
it is absolute garbage, and the other half is like, wow, genius, perfect, stunning.
Straight up gold.
Usually there's enough gold that covers up the rest of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Dylan, do you happen to have any more questions for Miss B?
I think that's it for what we've got right now. I think we should get on to the story elements.
All right, cool. Well, Miss B, so what happens now is that Dylan and I will throw an original idea at you, and we used to work on this together, and then we used to fight for hours and hours over which idea was better, because my ideas were obviously funnier, and his ideas were well thought out. But we decided to stop fighting about that, so we started asking our guests to make the decision for us. So we're going to pitch some ideas. Unfortunately, my idea has been losing the last couple of weeks, so I'm going to pitch it again, and we'll just see how this works. But I had the idea of a person who leaves their house one day and sees a bunch of ants and decides to maybe feed these ants or bugs or whatever. They go out a couple of days later, and the ants have made a castle for this person. And through the course of the story, you kind of find out that they view this human as a god, and they need him to destroy a neighboring ant colony or something. I don't know. I really like the idea of ants looking up to a human as a god and then trying to use that god to further their own good. So I think on YouTube I called it Beetle Deity. We've been workshopping it as Ant God recently. So I'm going to pitch the idea again of Ant God or Beetle Deity. And Dylan's probably has a better idea again.
Now, this week I went kind of off the wall because we've been doing Twitching Upstream on Tuesdays, and those are kind of fun genre stuff, which are pretty light. So I distilled this one down into shopping mall Hunger Games, where for whatever reason, it's set in the 90s, and you go like full 90s pastiche. You go, you hype it up. You do like Clerks, Mallrat style stuff, where for whatever reason, the mall, the local mall, gets locked down and becomes the site of a Hunger Games between the staffs of the various stores employees. So like, you have the shoe store fighting the home goods store, fighting the kids from the pretzel stand. I don't have anything else beyond that, like reason or anything, but I figure if you go like real off the wall with it, might be kind of fun.
Now, is this a shopping mall inside or a strip mall like outside?
I assumed shopping mall, so that way you could have the pressure cooker situation, like all the doors are shut. They could try to go up on the roof, and maybe that doesn't work or something. So getting out isn't necessarily an immediate option for them.
Yeah, and you're also set in like the 90s, right, or 80s?
I figured the 90s, so you can go like full, just comical 90s fashion and stuff like that.
Cool. Okay, Miss Bee Hyland, you got the weird choice today of choosing between two stories, one of which is an ant god, a human that listens to ants, I guess. And the other one is a shopping mall Hunger Games situation, which there's no backstory. We got to figure all this out with your help. So please let us know which one of these two weird original ideas we get to work on today.
I'm going to have to go with Ant God. That got me immediately. I was like, I would actually watch this.
Oh, yes. Dylan, you jerk.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Okay. All right, Miss B. So we're gonna start working on this thing, but before we get going on this little steam engine that could, do you want to once again let any of our viewers let them know where they can find you, where they can find your show, if you have something you want to sell? Dylan will love to buy a T-shirt or something.
I don't have any merch yet, but you can find my podcast, Deep Lore, pretty much anywhere where podcasts are. You can find it on Spotify, Pandora, you name it. We're going to start up a YouTube channel pretty soon. Probably going to start streaming on Twitch, so look for announcements on that. You can follow us on Twitter at deep_lore. You can also follow my personal Twitter at QueenBethyB. My other podcast is this podcast, a Jojo Reference. Can also be found on Spotify.
Which is not a Jojo Rabbit reference, not yet anyway.
It's not a Jojo Rabbit reference. I'm sorry.
No, it's that pop singer from the early 2000s.
Yep. There you go. We're talking about Jojo Sela.
Yeah, without KC. Okay. Yes, please go listen to Deep Lore. It's a great show. Find Miss B anywhere. She's very creative, very, very cool, very artistic, and is a better writer than Dylan. So I'm sorry to say that, but I'm just gonna have that out there. Okay, so let's see, Mr. Dylan, we are going to go over this story about a beetle deity or an ant god.
Yeah.
But before we do that, though, we got to thank some people real fast, if that's okay.
Yeah,
number one, IBM TV, thank you very much for having us on here. My best friend Dylan is miles away from me right now and within miles of snow, and I can't get to him. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for letting us hang out and chat about things like ant gods and shopping mall Hunger Games. But anyway, International Broadcast Media Television, thank you so much. If you do want to help with the things that we're doing, you can see us on patreon.com/somenobodies. People that do help us out. Scott Curtis from Behind the Bits. If you're into podcasts, especially interview podcasts, you can always check out Behind the Bits. He is a world-class and award-winning podcaster. Sarah Tkachuk and Tanya Sheck, our friends on the East Coast. I don't really want to talk anymore about that. I want to get into the story, if that's okay with you.
I think that's it. I think that's all we got to think right now.
There's so much more that we got to talk about, scene snobs and other people. But anyway, let's get into this. So Ant God. So this is a story about one person one day that goes outside and sees a bunch of ants and I guess feeds them. Right? Is that a good precipice for this?
Yeah, I think so. Like, you ever gone out with, you had like for some reason I'm imagining this happening at like somewhere that's not home. I imagine someone with like a tray of fries or something, like a paper tray. They like drop one because they see a bunch of ants on the ground. I'm trying to come up with a contrived reason why they have food outside. Could be that it's someone who has like a small house and they go out in their backyard and they've got like a what do ants like to eat? Like cookie
Everything.
crumbs, everything.
Yeah, everything. Sugar, picnic baskets from if cartoons are correct.
Yeah, they're eating
watermelon slices.
I'm seeing this main character eating something, and they drop intentionally or unintentionally, like they drop some crumbs on the ground near some. You know how ants like to swarm sometimes. Just they see a lot of ants on there, like I got to take care of that. Then they go back inside, and then you do the little thing where it's like you see them go inside and the camera lowers and all the ants swarm over it, and maybe they make like a pattern.
So this would probably be at somebody's house, right? Because if they're going to come across it a couple times for this to be a reoccurring thing, they would need to have like a foot traffic or something. So how about like just somebody's backyard next to like a swing or something? Okay, so
maybe there's
suburbia.
Maybe there's like a nuclear power plant nearby where it's like that's all the explanation as to why these ants are smart.
Oh,
don't do anything with it.
B, how do you feel about the nuclear power plant next door for exposition's sake?
Have you ever seen the movie? Oh God, what is it called? I don't know. It's this old black and white movie about giant killer ants.
Them?
Do you know what I'm talking about? Them. That's it. That's what this reminds me of.
Oh no. Okay. So swerve away from them.
That one's about giant ants that attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really care so much for the nuclear power plant. I like thinking that bugs are smarter than we are anyway, so they just don't have whatever. So let's say
we just don't notice. Yeah.
That's true. I'm not listening to them very often. Okay, so we have a person that puts some food down or drops some food, and ants go over top of it. And I guess the next day they come back and they find something, right? Is that the crux of this? Is that they find something and says, "Hey, maybe I should put more food down here"?
If we're trying to portray this as like ants treating humanity like God, we can do the like. So imagine like you go outside and there's an ant. There's an ant problem in your backyard, and you look down and they're making like a swirling pattern. You're like, that's weird. You drop some food down. You go out next time and they're making like an actual complex like pattern. You're going, all right, something's up. So you start just kind of like, feeding them little stuff. Then what? Like, do they ask you to do something for them? Like, you said, wipe out another colony. Do they ask you to like?
What, like Charlotte's Web? They like write it out.
Could.
Either they write it out, or somehow maybe they lead the person down to the other colony. I don't know how that person would distinguish the two different. Maybe they have like a different uniform.
Black ants and red ants. Unless you want to do this like Bugs Lifestyle, where the bugs are anthropomorphic, like they're humanoid.
I mean, it could also lead them to a different species of insect that they just got to eradicate that would be killing ant. What is an ant? What do ants scared of? Not ant eaters. That seems stupid.
Spiders.
Spiders are the big ones. There's a thing called an antlion, which is like a kind of, I think it's like similar to a termite, but it will burrow into the ground and make a funnel in the sand, and when an ant falls in, it will come up and dig it under.
Okay, that's wild.
Let's
do
see.
Some research on that.
I
Miss
like
B, what? Oh, go ahead.
No, I like the idea that they ask. The first thing they ask is for the human to get rid of some sort of like natural predator.
Yeah. B, how do you feel about this idea that that the ants are asking for help?
It's good as long as they do it like Charlotte's Web style.
So you want the ants to somehow write in English?
I love the idea of like ants like secretly knowing English.
Sure, why not?
We just take them for granted.
Sure. And what would you say is the appropriate first ant message to the human that gets them to be like, "Hey, ants are talking to me."
Yo, what up? Just like that.
Yo, what up? Okay. You got to write this down.
Sure.
Really?
So I'm
Okay.
trying to think. What kind of medium were you thinking this for, Zach? It sounds like we're kind of going for a short, maybe.
I didn't have anything in mind. I was thinking like a dark comedy at first.
Okay.
But throw in the yo what up into it. It might be some sort of anime or or cartoon. I mean,
I'm seeing this as kind of like a cartoon short right now, which lets us kind of accelerate the story such that it is, and also
yeah,
get a little sillier with it.
I agree.
Now,
so let's keep this a cartoon. Okay.
Now, my next question, Zach, is this the only ant hive that communicates with human beings?
This is the only ant hive that communicates to human beings in this story. Yes.
Well, because I was wondering, like, what happens if the colony is like, go wipe out these people down the block, and a guy goes over, and there's a dude like kind of sitting over an anthill with a notebook, and he looks up, and his eyes narrow, and it's two anthills that have like human patron deities that are like including them in their hive war.
Well, that's aggressively interesting.
Dudes need to fight.
Well, it's that question of like, wait a minute. So these ants ask you to come over here and wipe these ants out. Yes. They're asking me to stop to wipe out the other people or stop it. And then they're like, well, how far do we take this when it's ants asking us to do this? And then maybe the people sit down to coffee and try to broker peace or something.
Wait. Idea.
Mm-hmm.
Turn this into a rom-com.
Oh,
the ants set the humans up.
Yep.
So there's their
ant godhood.
Dude, I actually kind of like that. Okay, so we have somebody that drops food out, and ants are starting to communicate with them, and they say, "Yo, what up?" And this person's like, I don't know, ants, what's up? And they leave more stuff out. And through a course of conversation, the ant's like, hey, there's this other anthill on the other side of the road, and we need you to kill them. And this girl who finds the ants and is feeding the ants and is listening to the ants, she goes over across the street and she sees another anthill with another person over there. and to Dylan's credit, they squint-eyed and share a look, and then they have a conversation about what's going on with these ants, and they fall in love over this.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into that.
Can I hit with some? I'm going to hit with some plot points just to see if we want to work these in somehow.
Okay.
The knowledge that the ants are intelligent, communicative comes relatively early on, but we don't see the patron of the other anthill for a while.
Correct.
The main character, who I think woman, or at least seems like we're she.
I mean, they both can be.
Sure, why not? Yeah. They do some errands for the ants, and then and on the way they start getting closer with someone else in their neighborhood. And then as the ant errands become increasingly warlike, they eventually are like, you're going to have to fight the protector of this other hive. And she goes, I really don't want to do that. And they're like, all right, 1 billion lives are at risk. And we could start having the ants try and guilt trip them a little bit. Like, we got trillions of babies down here. I don't know what you want to do about it. They go over and they realize that the patron of the ant is this person they've been having a rom-com situation with. And then maybe the ants, maybe then it becomes them working together to stop them going to war. And they're like, hey, this is our nature. And then I'm seeing the end kind of, you brought up Charlotte's Web, and I'm seeing the end be like new queens flying out. And it's like, nah, we're abandoning this one. We're going to go, we're going to move, for ants. We're going to go as far away as we possibly can. Turns out it's like the football field next door.
France. Okay, so what if France? Okay, so what if we don't have the reveal that the other anthill is communicating with the other character just yet? So every time they think that I'm having this idea that character 1 is being told by the ants to go destroy this other ant ant hill, right? Hills. So they go across the street and they like are about to attack this anthill, and then that's when character 1 sees character 2 and it's like, "Wow, what are you doing?" And it's like, "Oh, nothing. I was coming over here to get some sugar or whatever." And then there's like this weird little like romantic thing, and the character 2 is coming back over. What we don't know is to destroy the other anthill. But then character 1's like, "Oh, I guess this girl really likes me. She keeps coming over here, blah, blah." And what they're really doing is trying to destroy the other anthill in a spy versus spy situation, because what we don't know until later is that the ants are going through a Romeo and Juliet situation. What do you think?
Romeo and Juliet, where they're trying to hook ants up with other ants, or they're trying to hook the humans up with each other?
The ants are trying to kill the other ants because...
I see. Two ants
main
grown a lie.
Yeah, it's the McCoys and whatever the other hillbilly thing is. Yeah, the Hatfields and McCoys, except like the leaders are in love and they need to get humans to destroy the anthills, but then the humans fall in love, because this is really just a story of love inception, just love inside of love inside of love. That sounds stupid.
No, not at all. I think we need. I like it, but I think we need a parallel human story to what they're doing with the ants. Something that the ant storyline kind of pushes against. Like she has like people over for dinner, or she has like a dinner party with some coworkers or something, and they're all out on the patio, and some of them are like, "Man, you got some real ant problems," and she's like, let's go inside. It's getting cloudy. And it's like, it's a beautiful night. Nope, we're going to finish this inside. And then she like scolds the ants before she shuts the door. And like, I'm seeing some comedy of errors stuff with like, maybe some of them hitch a ride to her, like on her car when she goes to work, so they can like keep up the contact with her.
So are you trying to make this like a Joe's apartment situation also?
Joe's apartment?
You'll know Joe's apartment.
No.
Joe's apartment is it's an old MTV. They got turned into a movie starring Jerry O'Connell, where he could talk to the roaches in his apartment and they would do stuff for him. It's a pretty weird thing.
I've seen clips from this of the dancing roaches. I
don't know if the ants should be comedic and like come inside and stuff.
Okay.
I do like them like kind of just being solely like, we have to eradicate this other people.
Gotcha.
I like it being like an insular thing. I do like there being that other storyline where the two neighbors are slowly like falling in love while trying to not tell the other person like, "Hey, I'm listening to ants and I got to destroy this ant hill."
Have that coming clean conversation where it's like, so I need to be before this goes any further. I really like you, but I need to be completely honest. The anthill in my backyard leaves me messages, and I'm trying to help them eradicate their enemies who live in your yard. And they just kind of look at her and they're like...
Well, then you get that weird scene where character 2's like, "Oh, you've been spying on me? You think just because I talked to an anthill, the ants talk, blah, blah, blah." And it's like, no, that was me. What are you talking about? That was what I was doing. I was trying to come
I think you might be projecting.
Yeah, there's a scenes like earlier was like, "Hey, do you mean to like mow your grass?" And character 2's like, "Why? I don't need that." It's like, "I don't know. I'm just out and just."
Does it turn out at the end that all of their like toothless flirting is completely in service to their like service to these ants? Like they don't actually enjoy each other's company. It's entirely them putting on a show, or do we want this to be a genuine rom-com?
Well, it would be kind of funny, and I would like Bee's opinion on this, if the two humans are starting to romantically get involved, but they don't want to like destroy the other anthill because they're building their relationship.
Yeah.
All right. we got one of these from B, so let's keep going with that. That's cool.
It's halfway up.
All right, so B, you like the idea of this being a rom-com between the humans, right? Okay. Yep. And you like the idea of both humans talking to ants and getting messages from the ants.
Yes.
Okay.
What? At some point, the two ant colonies they're still tunneling under the ground, and then they meet.
Okay. Dylan, what do you see from there? Are the ants that meet, do they get along? And they're like, hey, why are we trying to destroy these guys? These guys are they're actually our cousins. What are we doing?
No, I say we play the ants as like bloodthirsty, like absolute marauders, where they're just like, we don't understand. It's like, no, she and we have a real connection, and we're trying not to fight. It's like, I don't understand. We have to eradicate them. It's like, no, you don't have to. It's like, nope, we can't suffer them to exist any longer. It's like, listen, I really don't want to have to put you in an ant farm, but I'm not going to keep doing this.
So what happens when the two ants meet?
Ant farm and keep you in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Do the ants eventually decide to overthrow and kill their gods, and they bind together to wipe out these humans who aren't doing what they asked them to?
No, I don't think so.
Too far? Okay.
I like the humans. I like the rom-com situation. I'm a fan of that. I think that should be the ultimate story. I think that should be plot A.
Cool.
And then every little mishap is A, because each person is talking to ants, but B, the other person maybe thinks they're crazy. So I really like the idea of them each helping their own individual like ant colonies in their yard. What if it was like the ant stuff is kind of like a curiosity, like a bee story, where it's like every once in a while they go out and it's made like a symbol on their yard, and they toss a little bit of fruit down for them or something, and then they go next door to help their neighbor. They're having lunch with their neighbor on his patio or something. And then eventually they both find out that they are each kind of assisting their own. And then one of them gets the order to, not the order, but we've been being raided by this neighboring colony. And then the difficulty comes and it's like, well, I mean, they're ants, but they're my ants. And they don't listen to me. These are my ants. B, will you give me some actors that you can see playing these two characters?
Oh, goodness. All right. We decided they're both female?
Sure.
Boy. What's Lindsay Lohan been up to lately?
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't think any. Not much. But let's give her a chance.
Let's throw her a role there.
All right. So Lindsay Lohan and versus who?
Ooh. What about Hilary Duff? I don't think she's been up to anything either.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are recognizable names.
That's true.
Disney Channel original movie reunion.
Yeah, right. Let's get these ladies back in the spotlight. Okay, so we got ants, we got Lindsay Lohan, we have Hilary Duff, and they're living across the street from each other, which is why these ants can't do major battle because there's like a road, right? And cars keep crossing. All right, so they're neighbors, and one day, who's character one? That's Lindsay Lohan, right? She's the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So one day, Lindsay Lohan kind of goes out and sees an anthill and either drops food accidentally or just decides to leave food out there because she's a nice human and ants, whatever, they like to eat. And they start building designs for her, right? Which makes her leave more and more food, which makes the ants start leaving notes such as, yo, what's up? And and that gets a conversation going. And through conversation, they realize that the ants need to get the other anthill out of here, eradicated. Mm-hmm. And that starts the rom-com situation.
Yeah. And
so this is an animated rom-com.
Yeah.
I love it.
They're doing their voice acting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But the characters have to be like based on them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
All right, so Dill, what are some scenes you see here? Like, what is it? Is this one single thing now? Now that we turn this into a cartoon, now that it's a rom-com cartoon, do you still see this as a singular story, or is this like a series?
I'm still seeing it as a singular thing. Unless we can, I don't know. I think we would need more substance to
Well, I like to
really
think-
push it out.
Yeah, I like to sing your storyline because it seems like we have a somewhat of an ending.
Yeah.
Let's work on the actual arc of this story, right?
Yeah.
So we tend to go through a 3-arc structure, which makes storytelling easier, plot devices a little bit easier as well. So if we were to do a 3-arc structure, what is the first arc?
I'm seeing it as obviously we meet the characters. Lohan has the revelation about the anthill, and it matches up with her initial connection with Hilary Duff as the end of Act 1, where it's like, I've got this new scenario with the ants, and I've got a new relationship forming. And right now, I have to juggle both of them because they're not connected. So Act 1 is probably primarily like awkward kind of like meet cutes between them in the neighborhood or in town, put against alternating scenes of her interpreting what the ants are trying to get.
Okay. B, do you happen to see or would like to see any scenes in this beginning part where they're meeting each other, they're talking about ants? Is there anything that kind of strikes out, or are we sticking to a pretty basic storyline here without the ants involved?
What if one of them is like, what is it called when they're like an insect scientist?
Ooh.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like
It's
one of his
whatever.
specialties.
Yeah, that's whatever Grissom is on CSI.
Insectologist.
Entomologist.
That's what it's called. I don't think so.
Yeah, an entomologist.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Sure.
So
Is her
one
neighbor-
isn't it?
Is
Yeah, Hilary
Hilary
Duff.
Duff. Cool.
Yep. And the other one has to have something like completely unrelated. She's a barista.
Oh, nice. All right, so barista Lindsay Lohan is communicating with ants. She finally meets Hilary Duff, who is an entomologist, and I guess that's why Hilary Duff thinks that the communication with the ants is going well, because she studies them, and she's like, well, obviously I can talk to them. I study them. And Hilary Duff's like, well, Lindsay Lohan's like, well, I'm talking to them, and I just deal with coffee, so you're not that special. But we can get together and have some popcorn. All right, so what do you say is the next arc, Dylan? So we have the meet cute, we have the ants, we have, I guess, the precipice of the conversation. By this part, we would know that the ants want the other anthill destroyed, which is why they know each other. So what's the second one? The second one is the humans teaming up against the ants, or is it covert ant destruction?
Well, we've got some options here. If Hilary Duff is an entomologist, then does Lindsay Lohan bring her in for help? Like, is she like, hey, you know bugs, I know insects, insects. I have some weird insect stuff going on in my backyard, if you wouldn't mind. Or is it more like, I'm not letting her see it because I'm worried she'll think I'm weird?
B, do you think it makes a more interesting story if they reveal the secrets or if they keep that under wraps?
I think it could lead to more comedic situations if they're trying to hide it from each other.
Okay.
You know?
I love it. All right, Dylan,
is Hilary Duff already studying the communicative hill in her backyard?
Oh, yeah.
And she's trying to hide it from Lindsay Lohan. And it's like a gift of the Magi thing where it's like, you've got talking ants, I've got talking ants. There's so much in common.
I mean, later. Way later.
Yeah. Well, later, yes. Towards the end, yeah.
Yeah, we got to figure this middle part out, which is the comedic hijinks of them trying to eradicate the other anthill without knowing, and then thinking, like, obviously they're flirting, because why else would Lindsay Lohan be in Hilary Duff's backyard if it wasn't to bring her flowers or whatever?
There's that. I've got an idea of like the ants in Lohan's backyard getting more bold and trying to colonize the house. not like aggressively, but like, she finds them in like the kitchen. They're planting a tiny little flag in her like sugar bowl or something like that.
Yeah.
She's like, nope, you can't be in here.
No,
Like, we
I'm
are the
cool
first
with all
ants
that.
to breach the universal barrier.
I guess we got to figure out what the ending of this is going to be. And I'm assuming that one of the ants is bad and the couple, like, they get together, right? What do we think? Do they get together, or are the ants just crazy and like it's no big deal? And they're just like, all right, let's just stop talking to these ants. It's that easy.
I mean, it depends on how dark we want the ending to be, but they could
Yeah.
just wind up calling an exterminator.
Oh,
Just
okay.
straight up. Well, it depends on how far we want to take that, like, power structure, right? Like,
Yeah, true. I mean, if they are leaving notes, then they will probably leave notes closer to the house, and then maybe in the house, and it's like kind of consuming their life for a little bit, and then they're like, I don't want this. I just want a regular life without all these ants.
I do like the idea that towards the end because ants send out queens to establish new hives once they get large enough. So I like the idea that the movie ends with that happening. So at least you can see, like, okay, at least these intelligent hives are going to propagate a little bit, and then maybe we could have a dark stinger where it's like, well, what happens when all these intelligent ant hives communicate with each other? But that's for later on. That's just a post credit, like
a little stinger.
Yeah, somehow like a little ant stinger.
The
So
last
do you
scene
think that
she is them talking to maybe a child?
oh
ant
the ants?
cultists.
It's like we got to get those two ladies out of here. Okay, so B, do you think that Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff should be together at the end of this?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
You want a happy ending. Otherwise, it's just bummer.
All right, Dylan, happy ending.
Oh yeah.
So not our normal dark twisted stuff. Okay.
No, I do like the idea that eventually the humans are just like, I'm washing my hands of this. Like, I'm not going to respond to this. Please don't contact me. And then we see them contact like another human on the sidewalk where they get another proxy or just some other person.
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the final arc here that gets up into the eradication of the ants?
I mean, my mind is gravitating towards the ants overstepping the boundaries somehow. Like they start trying to, I don't know, they start showing up at her work or something. Like, you can't have ants in a coffee shop. Like, that is.
Oh yeah, no.
That is enough to get her to probably be like, all right, this has been going on. This is getting too far if it's threatening my livelihood.
Oh, okay. And then what? Do the ants eventually work together and like, look, why don't we just get these humans out of here and then do our thing on our own? And that's when both.
Well, they like form a temporary alliance.
That's what I pitched earlier.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, that's what B said right now, and it's a great idea. Okay, so.
Listen, maybe you did pitch that earlier, and then I just decided it was not.
Yeah, you stole it. That's what creatives do.
What we do.
She was inspired by something, and we'll just leave it at that. Okay, so we have the first third of this is the understanding that ants can talk to humans, that humans can understand them, that Lindsay Lohan is somehow being persuaded by ants to go do something crazy, and Hilary Duff is also. That's when we get to the meet cute. So we got to fill in this first third here. Now the second third is, I guess, a little bit of like the spy versus spy stuff, a little bit of whatever, and then that's when we lead up into the ants actually encroaching on everyone's real lives, having like bringing dirt inside, little hills inside, and going to their work, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we get down to the end where Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff are together. They're a cute couple, and they have decided to work together to eradicate all the ants. And then obviously Dylan Stinger is a queen ant talking to a child about setting both their houses on fire or something.
Yes.
Who knows? Okay, Dylan.
They just bring him like a pack of matches.
A pack of matches and then a gallon of a canister of gasoline just down the sidewalk.
Yeah, and the
And
kid's
they
like,
form an
"What do
arrow.
yeah, and the kid's like, "What do you mean do with these?" And then the camera focuses on like Hillary Duff and Lindsay Lohan just as a couple holding hands, and it's like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll go burn them." All right, Dylan, we do gotta fill in this middle part here.
Yeah. So we want to stick with the idea that Hillary Duff also has her own anthill she's working with.
Well, I mean, the ants need a reason to fight something.
So what if Lindsay Lohan is like a relatively new, like she's new to communicating with us, but Hillary Duff's character is like, listen, I've been watching over this hive for generations, and I've gotten them to the point where they mostly view me as an absentee god. So, I placate them a little bit. They don't ask me for a whole lot. If they're asking you to destroy this hive, that means that we've gone far beyond the bounds of my original experiment. And then that's her kind of being like, I'm not saying we need to cut it off, but you got to take a step back from being friends with these things. And she's like, I don't want to do that. They're cool. They bring her stuff like magpies do. And then they start showing up at her work and she's like, oh, she was right. Don't give an ant a cookie.
don't give an ant a cookie because it's going to ask for some milk.
It's going to ask for
okay.
extermination of their enemies.
Yeah. So what do you want to see happen with what we got going on now?
So I like the idea. I like your idea where she finds her in her backyard and it's like, what are you doing back here? And she's like, bringing you flowers. And she doesn't have much. And various attempts like early on to kind of like get that worked out. And then I don't think we waste time getting to the reveal from Hillary Duff's character. I think at a certain point we just kind of cut that cord and they're like, all right. They're talking to you.
Now, would you say that's roughly around the second third of this, like that second big arc right here?
Yeah, that's in the middle somewhere.
So the learning of the two, the collaboration of the two, what does that lead to?
I'm seeing a scene where she has Hillary Duff over, and she's like down over the hill with a magnifying glass, and she goes, "Wow, they started spelling things out immediately for her." And she goes, "Yeah, they started off with full words and sentences." And she goes, "Interesting. They started just making like symbols for me, and it took months for them to start spelling words out." And they like spell out like interloper or something, like intruder or something like that. I figure what ants are by nature militant. Like they have defined roles and they go to war and they go for the hive. So I say we characterize these ants as like they type in all caps. They, you know what I mean? Like they're very insistent. They're like, for the hive, go wipe out this enemy hive.
They use a very aggressive font.
Yeah.
like papyrus.
Wingdings.
Yeah, it's like, what is this? There's a bunch of yin yangs on here. Okay, so all right. So the ants are against each other, right? That's what we're saying?
Yes, and they're trying to set these people against each other too.
Okay, and so we have the part where they get together. We have the reason that they fight the ants back. And then what do they do together? Did they get an exterminator, or do they try to work out the problems first?
I think they try to talk it through. Excuse me.
With the ants,
I think they try to talk it through with the ants. The ants are just like, nope, they smell wrong.
Yeah, cool. So what is the big ending, the big reveal?
I mean, if they show up at the coffee shop and they start chasing her, like she comes home and they've infiltrated the house.
Yeah.
I think the next step in my mind would be exterminator. That's, I mean, unless we can think of a more clever way to get them kind of placated.
Well, I mean, ant farm. Wouldn't the insect scientists want to study them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have like maybe a scene where all right, so they're not going to get 2 exterminators at the same time to go to 2 different places, which means that the one is going to get wiped out first, right? So then that means that the other ants, they think that they've won, and they're like, "Hey, thanks, thanks, Hillary Duff, for doing that for us." And she's like, "Look, you guys are next," or whatever. And yeah, that's when they go to, "Well, we don't want to die too." And then they're like, "Well, you got to go into an ant farm." And it's like an ant farm linked with the other ant farm with like the queen from the first hive or something.
What if they capture the ant queen and put her in an ant farm, and then it's just, you do that shot where it shows the ant queen really close up and it zooms out and they're on like a pane of glass wall in like someone's in like Hillary Duff's house or something. They're just screaming. It's like beating their tiny little ant fists against the glass.
Yeah, all 4 of them.
Or they're scheming. They're scheming because they never give up. And then it goes outside and it's the remnants of the other hive, and then that's the one that shows the kid like the gas can.
All right, cool. All right, do you want to run through this real fast, like just from beginning to end, to see what we need to fill some stuff in?
This is a strange one, so here we go, everybody.
This is a weird one, yeah.
Yeah, right. Buckle in. So, Ant God, we meet our first character, played by Lindsay Lohan. This is an animated short feature, half-hour, 45-minute thing. She is hanging out in her backyard. It's nice. She drops some food, and the ants go for it, and looks like they form some sort of pattern. She kind of shrugs. She goes to her job as a barista, where she has a meet cute with her neighbor across the street, played by Hillary Duff, who's an entomologist. Goes home. The ants have formed like a word in English where it's like asking for more food or something like that. And so she's like, "That's weird." Gives it to them. Most of the first act is her kind of testing the ant capabilities and like what they ask for, and kind of doing little errands for them. Like, here's a sugar packet. Yeah, I'll move that closer to you so you don't have to move so far. And then they ask, there's a target across the street, or whatever ant term is for across the street. You need to eliminate them. And she's like, "Well, I don't want to, but that's the house of my crush, so I'm going to use it as an excuse to get closer to him." Act 2 is mostly them getting closer, her delaying the ant extermination. Imagine the Hill is probably like forming out words like "when," and she goes, "It's just soon. Don't worry about it. I gotta know the lay of the land, right?" So she like sneaks into her backyard to like see what the extent of this is. A little spy versus spy stuff. And I imagine one of these times she probably stumbles onto Hillary Duff communicating with her own ants, and they have the realization that they're both in similar situations. So Lindsay Lohan calls it off, and things look like they're going to calm down between her and Hillary Duff. And then the ants get upset. They start trying to get her like allegiance back, and then start showing up at her work, and then starts taking over her house. So she calls an exterminator on them. And does this spook the other anthill into kind of rebelling themselves? They're like, look at how easily they're willing to turn on us despite what we've given them. Or because we got to that point where one of them calls an exterminator, but the other one still rebels. Or is it just enough for the exterminator to come and then Hillary Duff to be like, "I shouldn't have messed with this. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to do a more limited study."
Yeah, I mean, we got to get to a point where we only have one of them left over in like the ant farm. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Miss B?
I like the second idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So we're going to get to the part where there is the exterminator there, and that makes the original, I guess, the Lindsay Lohan, like that colony gets exterminated, which makes Hillary Duff's colony being like, "See, we won, we're great." Yeah. And then the exterminator is like coming over or something, and the ants are like, wait, what are you doing? And they're like pleading or something. Is that what you see? And then, but she obviously doesn't want to kill them because She
Yeah.
is an entomologist. So she's like, look, either you got to go away or you can come into this little jar and I'll study you forever.
Live in my little glass house.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Dylan? How does this end?
I kind of like the idea where the exterminator pulls up to Hilary Duff's house and the ants are like freaking out. They're doing a lot of rapid fire shifting. And she goes, I can either take your queen and you can join this ant farm, but you can't live in my yard anymore. So it's up to you. And then, they kind of scatter for a little bit and then they form, and then like they go underground and they come up and they do the little, they leave a hole and in the middle is the queen. So she picks up the queen and puts it in like a jar. And then we get a time transition and they are all in like a wall-sized ant farm. Except for some of them. Some of them rebel or something like that. One of her new queens takes off, and that's the stinger with the kid.
This is one of the weirdest things that we. This is one of the weirdest ones we made.
This is a weird one. Hey, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is crazy. Miss B, how do you feel about this story of Ant God, and are you upset that you chose this one instead of Shopping Mall Hunger Games?
It's perfect. I love it, and I think someone should make this into a film.
I completely agree. Yeah, out of all 40 shows that we've done so far, this is the one that needs to get made first and as soon as possible. Because why would you want to see
out there
an animated?
I just want to see Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff talk to ants for however, like a half hour or whatever.
Yeah. And also just like flipping their hair because they're still trying to flirt with each other. Oh, yeah. That sounds great.
Bringing each other coffee.
That's such a weird thing. Yeah. Miss B, thank you so much for being here and for helping us make this weird creation. It's been our pleasure. We tried to have you on before, but life happened. So I'm glad that it happened today, and I'm glad you got to pick one of these two things. So before you say goodbye to us, will you please tell people one last time where they can find your stuff and anything that you would like people to know about you?
Sure. You can find my podcast Deep Lore pretty much everywhere: Spotify, Pandora. We're going to set up a YouTube channel once again. You can find Is This Podcast a Jojo Reference on Spotify. You can also follow us at deep_lore on Twitter. And you can also follow me at my personal Twitter at Queen Bethy B.
Excellent. Thank you. Keep an eye
out for my movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And then obviously we're gonna have you as a starring role as one of these ants in this animated thing. That way, we get to all meet Lindsay Lohan ourselves.
Let me be one of the evil queen bees. Or no, queen bees. No, queen ants.
We have to call our allies the bees.
Oh,
yeah, bees are above all this.
Yeah, there's like one cameo from a queen bee and be like, well, she's cool. Okay, Dylan, is there anything you want to say to Miss B before she gets out of here? She's very important. Got stuff to do.
All right. No, we appreciate you coming on. Good luck in all your creative endeavors.
Thank you.
Yeah. And let us know when this movie's coming out so we can promote it. Sure. But until we talk to you again, thank you so much for being here, Miss B. Thank you. And we'll talk to you very soon.
Yeah, we'll see you around.
All right.
Bye. Okay. Right. Dylan.
Yes.
Another weird one.
Another weird one. One of the weirder.
This is one of the weirder ones.
But this is it's fun when we get a chance to really kind of throw kind of propriety out the window on this, where it's like, what are we doing? We're doing one where ants talk to people. What do they talk about? They want them to kill other ants. It's like, well, all right. Cool. Here we are.
Yeah, it definitely is. It is fun to kind of step outside of the norm. It's like, this has to make sense somehow. We have to make this, realistic. But when you're getting down to like ants communicating with humans, like, what are you going to do?
No explanation for it. Yeah, don't need one.
Yeah, no, there's no power plant. There's no witch. It just is. Ants are probably smart. Who knows? But yeah, folks, you just sat through another episode of us making something weird, which hopefully gets made either Ant God or Beetle Deity. I guess I don't like Beetle Deity anymore. Ant God sounds cooler, but what do you think?
I like Ant God because this doesn't have anything to do with Beatles.
Yeah, I know, but we just used like God Pill last time and got to think of something.
We did.
Whatever, we'll figure it out. Anyway. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate it. The people we appreciate a lot. IBM TV, thank you for having us on here. And thank you for us just being able to talk about something stupid like ants and what they think is important, which isn't really anything except for love, honestly, when you get down to it. Special thanks also to Scott Curtis of Behind the Bits, Sarah Takacic, Tanya Sheck, Scene Snobs. If you're into some weird nerdy stuff, head on over to Scene Snobs and check that out. If you like podcasts but you don't want to listen to them, you'd rather just watch the words or read the words, I guess. You watch words? I guess if words are moving, you watch them.
I mean, you can.
Yeah, that's fair. But if you want to read them or save them or copy and paste them to something, you can go to Listener app and see all that cool stuff. We're on there. A lot of our shows are on there. You can find them at Instagram at The Greatest Podcast App. Other places you can find us. Number one, our website, somenobodies.com. It's all the weird stuff that we got going on. There's just a bunch of stuff on there. Patreon.com/somenobodies. That helps us out, create some weird stuff. Like Dylan mentioned earlier, we have a movie that we're making. We have a great crew doing this for us. We got about one scene left to film. But if you want to help out with that, we also have a GoFundMe that's going on. I'm trying to figure out a way to make Blu-rays out of this, just so you know.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited about. We also got to get some posters or something. If you want to listen to our voices, you can listen to us on some shows like Real Boys, which comes out on Mondays, where it's me and Dylan and 6 other comedian podcasters. We all kind of through our list of top 5 movies, and for the most part, we hate each other's movie lists. So it's going to be us reviewing that. The first one coming out is a Quiet Place, which is It's a fine movie.
It is. It is a perfectly functional monster movie to its detriment. That's what I'm going to say right now. You can hear my full opinion on the episode.
That's true. Yeah. And by the time this comes out, you can just go listen to it. It's everywhere. The Real Boys. You can always find the live version of this show on Twitch. We do that where people can just throw ideas at us. We don't have a guest on. We just talk to you guys, and whatever you want, we throw it into the thing. You just throw your stupid ideas into the chat, and then we throw those stupid ideas into our stupid ideas, and then we put that onto the stupid white wall. What else? What else we got going on? There's a lot.
It's picking up again. We had kind of a hibernation winter, and March. The first half of March was an empty part for any sort of creative projects. That's just how life goes. We're back on it.
Yeah, back on it.
Yeah.
Doing some cool stuff. But until next time, folks, I appreciate you just listening. As Dylan knows, I need attention. So please just give me all of your attention. Dylan gives me some of his attention. I would like more of it. But until next time, I've been Zach. He's been Dylan. And you have been great. Some nobodies. Whatever. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hey, take it easy out there. Bye, everyone.